Hello, everyone. It is time for another episode of Subculture After Dark. I'm Dave, and joining me is Harley. How you going, mate?
I'm going great. How's your week been?
Full on with interviews. We've had some absolutely massive interviews this week. I can probably talk about it, but not go into too much detail. But we did an interview with Asking Alexandria, which will be in the next episode of Subculture After Dark. And one band that we kind of debated whether or not it should be in Subculture After Dark. But then I finally relented and went, no, I think that can just go in our regular Subculture show. We actually spoke to Danita Sparks from L7 this week as well, who are
Ah,
about to
yeah.
embark on an Australian tour in December. But if you want to hear that one, you'll have to listen to our Sunday morning Subculture show because I decided L7's not quite heavy enough for After Dark. But we do have a heap of interviews tonight, don't we, mate?
We do. You've been busy chatting away. And just do you ever stop talking? Like what's going on?
It feels like that at the moment. There is so much good Australian music coming out at the moment, and we've got a lot of those Aussie bands on our show tonight to chat about that. We've got Werewolves coming on, we've got Tired Minds coming on, Joy in Motion, Vilify, and Triple Kill. Now, the guys from Triple Kill, they are very, very big pop culture fans. Their new song is called Shai Halud, which of course comes from which movie, Harley? Do you know?
June.
Yes. So
But
we
then
have
I heard the start of the interview, so I I cheated.
so we have a little bit of a talk to them, but we've also got some big international names as well. First of all, we've got a band that's kind of up and coming called Antirope that we thought you guys might want to know about. From Ashes to New have also joined us to chat about their brand new album, and one of the kings of heavy music, Bjorn Strid, joins us to talk about the Night Flight Orchestra coming to Melbourne, coming to Australia, I should say, for the very, very first time. Bjorn's such an interesting guy. He was actually one of the first artists I ever interviewed when I was a teenager with his work with Soilwork. And yeah, it's one of those things now. Whenever we do an interview with each other, it's like, oh, you again, kind of thing. So, but he's such an awesome guy. I remember getting ready for that first ever interview with him, and I was so nervous because I loved Soilwork, and for some reason, I was just convinced that, oh man, this guy is like a king of metal. He's going to be like, he's not going to want to talk to this little teenager. Ended up being the nicest guy, and of course, now doing music that's not quite as heavy as Soilwork with the Night Flight Orchestra. But yeah, it's a great interview, and he talks a little bit about what it's like touring in a country for the first time. Um,
I find that actually quite interesting what you were kind of saying there. Like here, you see these guys and um their image, the persona they have on stage, and a lot of them have that like death metal growl, and
yeah,
especially you'll hear quite a bit of that on today's episode. And then you speak to them, it's like something completely different. It's like the complete opposite of what you expect. They've
yeah,
gone from this growling, snarling beast to this really kind of well spoken or well thought kind of um person that you just really get in touch with. It's really interesting.
yeah. And like because I've been doing this now, I worked out the other day. I've been doing metal interviews now for 28 years. There's a few artists that I've like interviewed quite regularly, and they fall into that category that you just said. Des Ferreira, who used to be in Cold Chamber and is now in Devil Driver, he's like that. We've done a few interviews together now, and we actually ask how each other's pets are going, like because he knows that I've got pets, and I know that he's got pets. Danny Filth from Cradle of Filth is the same. First
Yep.
time I went to do an interview with him, I was absolutely terrified. I was like, what's this guy going to be like? Nicest guy ever. Like, yeah. If you do an interview with him and he kind of picks up that you're a little bit nervous, he actually like will talk to you and try and calm you down. And Bjorn was like that the first time I interviewed him. He knew that I was like this very fresh green interviewer. And to be honest, the first time I went to do an interview with him, I didn't know that much about him. I knew that he was from Soilwork, who were a band that I'd been listening to for years, but I didn't know anything else about him. And so when I started the interview, it was all about the music and all about his new album at the time and stuff like that. And he kind of did this thing where he's like, "Hey, let's get to know each other a little bit." Yeah, like, so you're still in school and stuff like that. So it was like, yeah, sometimes that, like, I interview a lot of young bands and they talk about how nervous they are because it's their first radio interview or something like that. But quite
Yep.
often the interviewer will be nervous as well, especially if it's a really, really big band. So yeah, the other one I think that absolutely terrified me was interviewing Nightwish in person.
Yep.
And we ended up getting locked in a room together. The door handle fell off the door from the other side. So yeah, we ended up spending a fair bit of time together then. So yeah,
Come on, tell the truth. You made that happen. You rigged the door handle to fall off.
I wish I could say that I did, but I actually didn't. And the worst part was it was before a show. So they had a show
Oh
coming up
no.
and they're like trying to get people's attention, but because people knew that they were doing interviews in their dressing room, people were like not standing outside the door because they were like, well, I don't want to make a noise. So it was like interviews
Yeah.
over, or we all go our own way. No, door won't open. So yeah, kind of scary. But like, yeah, one of the things as an interviewer is like when you do those backstage interviews, you see how nervous people get. I remember one of the years that I was covering Big Day Out. Um, really seasoned performers like Liam Gallagher were so nervous. The guys from Pearl Jam were really nervous, like before going on stage, and it's like, man, these guys have been doing this since I was a child, and
Yeah.
they're nervous. So it's like, I think it's okay for me to be nervous when I'm doing an interview as well. So yeah,
But I think you do pretty well speaking to people also. Like, I get to hear and edit a lot of your interviews that you've recorded. So, I can hear when someone's nervous and not used to speaking to someone. Not normally someone else is doing that job. So it's yeah, I think they tend to warm up to you so you don't make it uncomfortable for them. So I think that's good. You speak to them on a nice casual level, but you ask the questions that make them want to kind of speak up. So, props to you on that. And like you were saying before, you were speaking to someone and when you were a fresh interviewer, you didn't know a lot about them and it's all new. What do you ask? That sort of thing. But you interview so many people and you do so well to get the information you need to keep an interview going. I mean, just trying to remember so many names would kill me.
yeah.
The amount of people you go through an interview, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think that kind of came from some of the people that trained me in radio when I was first starting out, because it was one of those jobs that, to be honest, I didn't think I would ever do radio. My first writing job was actually with a country newspaper, and then my school started up a radio station, and they kind of didn't train us. So my training actually came from when I went to TAFE, and I had two really, really good people training me. Brian Wise, who a lot of people out there in the music industry would know of because he's been a radio broadcaster, I think, for about 40, 50 years, especially on Triple R. And also Stephen Walker, who sadly is no longer with us, but he was an icon doing nighttime and breakfast radio with Triple R. And he was the one that said to me that an interview should be like a chat. It shouldn't be like, as he put it, a courtroom. The person that you're interviewing shouldn't feel like they're the defendant and you're grilling them. It should feel like just a little chat. And Brian Wise actually.
Tell us how you got into the industry. Now, here's a witness to corroborate or deny the facts.
Brian Wise said one of the things he used to love doing when he was doing his Blues and Roots show on Triple R was to give the guest a hot drink, which is kind of funny because in radio a lot of times they tell you you can't take a drink into the studio, but he said he used to like to keep his like a chat as well. And what do you do when somebody comes over for a chat? You offer them a drink. So he
Yeah.
said, yeah, that was just one of the little things that he did. But yeah, Stephen Walker was the one that said, treat it like a chat and you'll get so much more out of the interview. Because if people feel like they're being grilled, they'll clam up, they'll lock up. They don't want to tell you anything. So
Yeah, of course.
yeah, you do still get the odd interview. And I guess this is some advice out there for young bands. If you are doing an interview, try not to do yes, no answers. You're taught when you're doing interviewing not to ask yes, no questions, but sometimes people turn questions into yes, no questions. So you might ask the question, say, what kind of things were inspiring you when you sat down to work on this album? And you get the answer, yeah, there are a few things. So yeah, like it is a two-way street, but yeah, I think I love being able to interview now. I think in the early days I was pretty nervous about doing it, but now I absolutely love it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I think, and listening to the interviews is great. Like I think you just learn so much from people,
yeah,
especially when they're talking about their passions. It's something really special. So yeah, yeah, I sitting like as a kid when you see interview shows, you kind of think, why would you want to do that for a living? But then as you like hear more and more, and as you grow, you want to learn more stuff. It becomes a really fascinating um, career that you can do.
yeah.
Uh, in the times that we've interviewed people together, I love hearing what they have to say, and it makes me want to ask more questions. So yeah,
And you never know where an interview is going to go either, not in the sense of where the questions are going to go, but what it's going to lead to. Like I did an interview the other day with a musician, and after we finished the interview, we started talking like just about things in general and what we were passionate about and what we were doing, kind of thing. And now they want to work with you and I on some of the film and TV projects that we're doing as a composer. So it's like you never know where that kind of thing's going to end up as well. So
and you never
yeah,
can know without the conversation, and I think that's testament to keeping it, kind of casual and friendly,
yeah.
is that you do get to open up to each other. So
Definitely. Well, we probably should get into the show. And
yes.
to start the show off tonight, we're actually going to interview, ironically, one of the bands that I did interview very early on that made me nervous. We're actually going to play the brand new track from Camelot. This is called Event Tide, and you're listening to Subculture After Dark.
Drifting on the waves to find that we can
And welcome back to Subculture After Dark. Well, we're going to kick off tonight's show with a band that has got a lot going on at the moment, and they've got a lot of links to our other guests that we've got on our show both this week and next week as well. The band is called Triple Kill. They've got a brand new single out, which I'm going to get them to announce in a moment, just because I'm a little scared to try and pronounce this in case I stuff it up. But we actually thought, before we play the track and before we talk about these amazing tours that are coming up, we would actually get two members of Triple Kill on the phone tonight. So welcome to the program, Connor and Ethan.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
No problem. Now, guys, you have got so much going on, and like I said before, you've got so much going on that links to some of our other guests that we've got coming up tonight and next week as well. But let's start off by talking about this brand new track. And to start that chat, can someone tell me how to pronounce it so I don't completely stuff it up?
It's pronounced Shai Hulud. It's a Dune reference. It's the sandworms in Dune.
I thought that, but I was thinking, no, that can't be right. So tell us a little bit about how that links in. Like, where did the idea for this track first come from?
I mean, lyrically, the idea just came from the Dune mythos being cool, and the Denis Villeneuve film being really dope.
Yeah.
And then the phrase "God Emperor of Dune," which is the title of the fourth book, sounds so cool on paper. Thought, it just lends itself to being used as some sort of pit call into a breakdown in a heavy metal track. It seemed like a no-brainer.
Awesome. So, Ethan, I've got to ask, because I also host a movie show away from a heavy metal show, are you guys all big movie buffs?
Oh, definitely. When it comes down to it, especially Connor here, we're both big on films. We just had our Barbenheimer weekend, which was a real nice time.
Yep.
We did too.
So,
yeah, huge movie fans.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about that, Connor. Do you quite often find yourself being inspired by movies when you sit down to work on your music as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Movies and comic books predominantly. But and any and all kinds of movies can kind of make their way into the lyrical content for a Triple Kill song, which is half the fun. Just seeing whatever, maybe a line or a scene stands out, and trying to capture that essence in a song. We get whatever made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up and make me, give you that visceral response of like, whoa, that's cool. Trying to put that into song form is always a blast.
Now, Connor, as someone who is looking at my desk right now and thinking I need to watch that Stranger Things Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, read that Stranger Things Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover comic that I bought yesterday, what are some of your favorite comics?
Oh man, well, Preacher is a huge one. We've got a song on the upcoming album inspired by a character from Preacher. American Vampire is a favorite. I really like Scott Snyder as a writer. What else? I mean, The Boys is obviously a big fave as well. Garth Ennis just rocks my socks, dude. He's great.
Now, you've just pricked my interest a lot there, talking about Preacher. Please tell me that it's not Arseface, that the character that's inspired the track.
No. Thankfully, we had we might be a tasteless bunch, but we had enough good taste to not write a song inspired by Arseface.
Well, hang on now, Connor. There could be another album here.
Yeah, God willing, we'll have another album, and again, God willing, we will opt not to write a song inspired by Arseface.
So, guys, tell us a little bit about the writing process that you guys go through with the band. Like, does Connor come up with the idea and then you all sit down and work on it, or how does that writing process work?
Well, Ethan, I'm like, feel free to chime in, but I guess the writing process for this album was kind of different from the last one. The last one was kind of fueled by a youthful exuberance and vigor to just have an album under our belt. So it was a lot of it was written, in a room together, kind of jamming ideas out and just throwing stuff at the wall and kind of seeing what stuck. The writing process for this one was largely during lockdowns and some post-lockdowns, but by the time we got into post-lockdown stuff, life was just so busy that we couldn't really get into a room to jam together the way we used to. So the writing process this time was a lot of, working on ideas individually and then sending it to the group and kind of giving notes and then, coming back and forth like that. Was a far more isolating experience. But I think we managed to get into a real groove with it where I think as a result, the material on this album is leagues better than the material on the last album.
Yeah.
I don't know, Ethan, what do you think?
I think that's, pretty spot on. With the last album, we also gave ourselves such a short time frame that we were meeting up every week to sit in a room and be like, have we got this done? This song needs to be ready. Whereas this time, not to say thank you to it, but having lockdown gave us a lot more time to, while we were individually on our own writing pieces, we had a lot longer to work on it and really fine tune our own crafts so that we come back with something that's a bit more mature than what we've released previously and something that's going to sound a lot more fuller than what we had done previously.
Yeah, and I think a big thing that we got to do this time was because we had that extra time to sit with the material, we were able to hear when something was just riff salad or was kind of, a bunch of cool ideas with no real rhyme or reason. So we made a really concerted effort to go, okay, what's this song about? What's this song inspired by, thematically or whatever? And it's all inspired by movies and art and media, largely escapist stuff that helped us through, lockdowns or even just trying personal times. So we would go, okay, well, what's the story of this song, and how can that inform where the song goes next? If we've gotten our, intro, our verse, our chorus, what's happening next in the story of this song, and let's make the music reflect that. So yeah, it was the first time we really wrote material with intent, and I think that helped immensely.
Ethan, the brand new album is called Black and Dawn, and it comes out on August the 25th. Do you think this track is a good example of what we can expect to hear sound-wise on the new album?
I personally don't think anyone is ready for what they're going to hear.
Yeah.
I think Shai Hulud and Finish the Fight are two songs that we've dropped that have given people a bit of a different taste of what we've got to come. And I think there is some surprises that are going to really come as a shock to some people that they're going to enjoy. And that's really all I want out of this. I just want everyone to enjoy it.
Definitely. And there's a very, very interesting video clip for Shai Hulud as well. Tell us a little bit about that video clip, because I believe you guys actually raised the money for it as well with a charity live stream or something.
That's right, Ethan. Do you want to talk a bit about the live stream? That was your baby, I think. You really
for sure.
That.
For sure. We were looking at wanting to do something a bit bigger for a music video than what we've done normally, and we ran past the idea of what if we did like a fundraiser, but we needed to give some more incentive. So we came up with the idea of, well, let's go live for 24 hours, be on Twitch, and we're going to do a whole set, and then we'll cut to playing games, doing some little shenanigans, and just staying awake for 24 hours in hopes that we can raise a little bit of funds to help go with this music video, which was really good. Little did we know, we had set up some goals that if we reached those goals, there would be things like we'd do a second set at the end of the stream, or we'd add an extra hour. And boy, our fans just came out. They came out swinging. They were ready for everything. It was a great time. There was some punishments in there that I regret agreeing to, in the way of eating chilies and smelling socks that were stuck in Ziploc bags.
Yeah,
we definitely overthought that part.
Yeah, we certainly underestimated just how generous our friends and family and relative strangers who just like this triple kill thing would be. We thought all right, maybe we'll make. We needed a budget of at least about 5K to make this video everything it could be. And because we'd spoken with the crew and gone, all right, let's get an idea of a budget. All right, we need about 5K at the very least. And so we thought, all right, we'll try and raise as much as we can on this stream. Maybe we'll get $1,000, and that'd be great. And we'll cover the rest ourselves, and we're not, as individuals, extremely well off. We're all working full-time jobs, if not 2 jobs, bouncing between things to make this thing happen. But goddamn, dude, yeah, people showed up and were incredibly generous and dug deep and raised not only the budget we needed, but then some, which meant we had more wiggle room, and we were able to put more into the budget for this video and make it even better. So, yeah, it was really phenomenal.
Definitely. Well, the result is absolutely brilliant. I wanted to bring it around now to your live shows because, of course, on August the 5th, you are supporting the Night Flight Orchestra, who are also on the show tonight as well. How do you guys feel about opening for the legendary Bjorn Strid?
Oh, dude, I am we were giddy with excitement when we got that email. We're all fans of the band. I've been hanging out for the opportunity to see these guys live. They were a band that I'd resigned myself to having to travel internationally to ever get a chance to see them.
Yep.
So the fact that they were coming to our city to begin with is huge. And then when we got the email, offering us the support slot, the fact that we'll get to be part of the evening and not just punters, is huge.
Definitely. And then, of course, Orpheus Amiga, you've got shows with them as well. They're on next week's show. Tell us a little bit about those tours, because we were talking to the guys yesterday about that, and they're so excited about being able to play in places like Ballarat as well, taking it to some regional places.
Ethan, do you want to field this one?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, firstly, Ballarat is such a fun place to go play shows at. We've done a few shows there now, and every time there's always the audience is always just super killer. And then for us, we also get to add in Gold Coast to our list of places that we get to go to.
Yeah.
It's really cool, rather than just doing the Brisbane, Sydney, Canberra, Melbourne leg of just doing an East Coast tour and calling it an Australia tour. We get to add in some extra shows there, which has been really nice.
Awesome. Well, we cannot wait for those shows. I know I'll definitely be at the Night Flight Orchestra show, and I'm sure I'm coming back as well for Quest Fest on September 9, because that sounds absolutely awesome. But guys, we are going to play the brand new single on our show right now. So what would you like to say to everybody out there before they listen to Shai Hulud for the first time?
If you like the song, check the video out, and don't let the video scare you off from seeing us live, please.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to us today. I know you're both very, very busy, so thank you so much for taking that time, and we can't wait for the new album coming out on August the 25th, and with all those shows as well, I'm sure a lot of our listeners are going to head along and check you guys out playing live as well. So thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Not a problem, dude. Thanks for having us.
A pattern Oxford Tracy
And welcome back to Subculture After Dark. Well, we know that you love your new Aussie music, and we've got something very special in just a moment. We're going to play From the Inside, the brand new track from Vilify. But we thought, hey, let's get to know this track a little bit more. Let's actually get Amy from Vilify on the phone to chat all about it. Welcome to the show, Amy.
Thank you for having me. How are you?
I am really, really well. Now, no problem having you on the show. We know that our listeners are going to love this track. So I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about this track and how it came into being.
So the track itself, like the physical recording, it was an interesting song for us. It was kind of more, it started with me kind of writing some stuff. I had some lyrics I wanted to get out, because normally we do music first, but I had some lyrics, some vocal ideas I wanted to get out. Came back to the team with them, and they absolutely soared with them and went ham, which is great. Recorded it with Chris Blancato again, who's done the last couple of singles. He's like almost a full-fledged member now, so it came out really easy. This one was just so quick. But yeah, it started with lyrics, started with vocals, this one, which was a bit of a change for us, so I think that's why it's possibly a more vocal and lyric-centric song as well, which was very different for us and fun.
Definitely. And it's about a very, very important topic as well. Tell us a little bit about what it was written about.
Yeah, this one was written, I tried to leave it a little bit ambiguous but direct, because I wanted people to be able to take away from it what they need. But it was written about internalized homophobia, but I realized saying that a lot of people thought it was for myself, but it wasn't. It was more seeing it in others and how they project that sort of like self-hate on other people, and some of the really hurtful things I've heard people say about their own experience with struggling with identity, and how when they can see people that are fine with it, I feel like they seem to lash out. But yeah, it was about that. It was about discovering not necessarily even like your sexuality or gender. It kind of ended up being more about anything. So anything where you're confident in something and someone just tries to tear you down for it, even if it's not deliberate, like their jealousy of your confidence in it, and just kind of not letting that eat into you was kind of what I was going for.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of times you listen to a track and you find that you relate to it, and you want to reach out and say, hey, I listened to it and this track spoke to me, or it's something that I've been through. But it almost feels like this track is a track that you want people to listen to and then reflect on how they feel internally. Is that kind of right?
Yeah, I think without being too direct, it sparked from a specific engagement I had with someone, like a conversation where I was like, I didn't really like how that felt for me. So I would love the idea that anyone reflects on it, like even how they've treated someone in the past for doing something they possibly didn't like, or how like feel connection to the idea of like, okay, those people were awful to me, but it's not just me. This happens to other people, and kind of get that kind of sense of belonging from knowing that I've experienced too. The guys in the band have experienced people not believing in them as well. Like, I just wanted people to take from what they could, but it was about it pretty direct as well.
Yeah. Now, your band has been known for some brilliant live shows, and of course, that's kind of captured in the video clip for this track. Tell us a little bit about the video clip and what went into that.
Yeah, we were originally not even sure if we were going to do a video for it. We've done a whole bunch of videos. The last one was pretty big, and like I said, this song came together so quick. We just kind of wanted something sooner, quicker, a bit like vibey and about us, because this song's so about a personal topic. So we had our friend Corey Nathan of CN Media. We had him at a couple of shows. We just kind of planned that we might one day need the footage. So we got him, and the beautiful Lachlan Waite did some additional footage as well. They just came and took footage of two shows. I think it was only two shows. I think it was the Void Division show on the Central Coast and the North Lane show in Newcastle. And they just came to film it all. And when this song came out so high energy and so bouncy, and that's what we would love people to know us for, that it's a high energy show, we were like, wow, this is perfect. This one has to be the live one. So yeah, we were like, let's take our turn. I remember growing up seeing like every third video for any hardcore metalcore band was a live video. So I was like, yeah, I want one. Let's do it. So that's kind of how it came to be. And Corey edited it, and he brought it to life, which is very, very sweet and very, 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 very good. So we were very excited by it.
you've got to share the stage with some brilliant bands. You just mentioned North Lane there and Void of Vision, but you've also played recently with Belhaven, Alpha Wolf. What's that been like, sharing the stage with those amazing bands?
Well, so a couple of us have been in bands in the past. So some of them, it's interesting and kind of nerve-wracking because we've played alongside them in other formats. So playing in this one, for me personally, I've gone from being sort of a bass player playing in a band to now having to show if I've got what it takes to be a front person to them. So it's this like extra, like they're going to be honest with me with some of them. So I've known the Belhaven guys for years. So it was interesting having their input on the live show, given that they've known us for so long. So they said really kind things, but some of the big ones, like playing with Era, was one of the scariest things of my life. Like, it was a big show at Crowbar, and I felt like I was so a fish out of water, like I wasn't ready for it. But every time we get up and we whatever audience is there, no matter if it's 10 people or it's 700 people, I think we always try to approach it the same. So for me, it doesn't really matter who I'm playing with. It's more about the people watching. So I'll try and play as though I'm playing to 1,000 people when I'm playing to a couple of people, and I hope that everyone feels as special as those 2,000, 3,000 people shows every time.
Awesome. Well, a lot of people are probably asking now as well, this brand new single, From the Inside, is it part of something bigger? Can we expect an EP from you guys soon, or another album? What's in the works coming out?
Yeah, we've got the means to do it. We're just not sure. We have a bunch of stuff written, but I think we're thinking singles, just for now, being fully honest and open. We're thinking singles. We just want to make a more cohesive, larger body of work, where these are all just like torn out bits of a diary, and we're still trying to find our sound from the first EP we did, and we're finally so happy with how it's all sounding that we don't want to do a larger piece that is finding our feet. We want the larger piece to be so fully reflective of what we wanted it to sound like. So we're still finding our way a little bit, but we think we're so close. So it might be, this did feel like the first sort of like lightning bolt moment where we're like, maybe this is it. So the way we've been working with Chris does leave it that it could be part of a larger body of work, but at the moment, no set plans.
Yeah, and what about shows? Have you got some shows planned for the rest of this year as well?
Yeah, we've got a couple of little bits here and there. We've got a couple at home, a couple... I don't think any of them I can talk about yet, except we're doing I think it's called Aftermath Festival in Sydney, with a bunch of cool metal bands at Crowbar. I'm gonna feel awful for forgetting the date, but you can find it on Instagram, and the first early bird ticket's already sold out, so definitely jump on the second lot. But I know that's booked and announced, but there's a couple of other things coming up that aren't quite announced yet, but you'll see us in some more regional places, which is very exciting for me, coming from Newcastle, that when I was growing up in music was counted as regional, but probably isn't now. So a couple more regional places, a couple more sort of city places before the year's out, but our big goal is, possibly that larger body of work. So that's why there's a little bit of a question mark next to it, because we're going to try our hardest to get you something soon.
Well, we certainly can't wait to hear what's going to happen there. But right now on our show, we are going to play From the Inside. Amy, is there anything you'd like to say to people out there before they take a listen to this amazing track?
Like I've said a million times, just be you, be confidently and unapologetically you. Anyone that doesn't like that can just get out of the bloody road.
Like
And welcome back to Subculture After Dark. Well, we know that you guys out there love From Ashes to New, and of course their brand new album is fast approaching very, very quickly right now. We're going to be playing the brand new single Armageddon in just a moment on the show, but before then, we're actually going to chat to Danny from the band about this amazing new album called Blackout. So welcome to the program, Danny.
Hey, how's it going?
I am going really, really well. Mate, this album is just absolutely fantastic. As each single has come out, we've got a little bit of a piece of the jigsaw puzzle and putting it together. I've had a chance to listen to the whole thing now, and this is an amazing album, so congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah, man, we're really proud of it, and we feel like it's got a variety of sounds. It's really heavy, really catchy. Yeah, I think it's our best record yet.
Now, this is a concept album, so tell us a little bit about the concept behind it and where that idea first came from.
Yeah, so it's kind of a loose concept, so we didn't stay too strictly to it, but the idea was, before we went into the studio, we kind of sat back and we were like, what put this band on the map? And we looked at, the band's first album, Day One, and the level of intensity that the songs had, the heaviness to it. We looked at that and we were like, we enjoy writing heavy music. Let's go heavier for this record, because we feel like we enjoy it, our fans enjoy it. Let's go heavier. We started working on it in early 2021, and so with everything that had just transpired, with it seeming like the end of the world was happening every single day, we had very dark, apocalyptic type lyrics, and we had actually been working on Armageddon, and it gave us the idea to go, hey, Day One showed a kid sitting on a new planet, starting over and looking up in the sky at the old planet that was falling apart. Why don't we make this kind of like the prequel, where the kid is still on that old planet reaching for the new planet? Since we're writing all these lyrics about the Armageddon, about the apocalypse and all that stuff, it was the album actually initially was going to be called Armageddon before we changed it to Blackout.
Yep.
And so that's where the loose concept kind of came from. It was just like all the lyrics we'd been writing over the pandemic and the heavier style. We were like, this seems like a good fit. It seems like it makes sense. Let's just go with our guts on it.
Yeah. Now, I lived in what was one of the most lockdown cities in the world during the pandemic, so it was a pretty tough time. How was that time for you? How did your world change, and what were the lockdowns and stuff like where you were?
Oh yeah, it was not fun, every single day it just felt like it wasn't going to end, and all of us felt like we really didn't have a sense of purpose, not being able to play music and tour and see fans and all that stuff. It was a very frustrating time because it also felt like it was kind of like the blind leading the blind. Like the people who were in charge didn't know what the hell they were doing. Yeah. And that's kind of how we felt about it. So to feel like we were being constantly taken down the wrong path throughout the whole thing, and having our lives taken away throughout the process of it, like, it was really frustrating to watch. We had a lot of lyrics that I think came out of that frustration, and we were so thankful to get out of it when that time was done.
Yeah. It sounds like you were still writing during that time. Some people found that their creativity completely dried up during that time. Did you find yourself still in a creative mood?
Well, so in the beginning of the lockdowns, we kind of turned towards, everyone's at home, everybody is on their screens, nobody's able to go out and do things. Let's put out music, because we had our Panic record that we were sitting on.
Yeah.
Like, let's just put it out. Like, it's not the right move, quote unquote, to do politically, because like you're supposed to save your record and then tour on it and all that stuff, and like get the radio interviews and go and really promote the record. And we were like, let's just put it out to give people something to listen to.
Yep.
So we had that. We had just finished recording that record, and then we were also doing some covers. We would post covers on our YouTube and have the fans engage and request other songs, and I think that was a helpful way for us to stay creative and to engage with the fans and then give them something to look forward to while everybody was shut down. So we didn't get to spend a whole lot of time focusing on writing because we had just finished that record. We were doing this other cover stuff on our YouTube, and then pretty much as soon as real small gatherings kind of got back together, we went out and started writing for the next record. And that was like early-ish, like maybe March, May, in that area of 2021. So, and then we went and started recording the record in the summer.
Yeah.
So we never really even had the chance to see if our creative outlet would dry up. We were doing other stuff. So I hope for most bands that it was productive for them. For us, we had just finished recording an album and had just put it out, and then as soon as everything was kind of subsiding, we went back out and started writing again.
Yeah. The lyrics on this album, like you said, it reflects that time so well. Did those lyrics come from how you guys were feeling, or did you even incorporate some of the feelings in there of fans that reached out to you during that time as well?
Yeah, I mean, it was all... They were all like lyrics from our own experiences and our own thoughts and our own feelings. And I think that is relatable for so many people because almost all of us were going through it, So, it was the four of us writing and our producer, and I think we had maybe one other person like help on the record. And I think just due to the fact that it was a situation that affected everyone, the things that we were feeling and putting from pen to paper, I think was really relatable for a lot of people.
And when you're sitting down working on the album, how much do you think about that little boy, planet ending? Like, do you try to put yourself in his position and imagine how he's feeling, or do you just write from the heart yourself?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't think we ever spent much time visualizing that aspect of it. We were pretty deep into the process when we kind of came up with that idea. So we were pretty far along on the record already. And again, it was a loose concept, so it wasn't anything that we were sticking too strictly to. But, there was definitely a couple songs and then like handfuls of lyrics here and there that kind of pertained to it. But, if it was something that we went into going, this is the game plan, this is the idea, I think that's absolutely something we would have done.
Yep. Knowing that you wanted this to be a heavier album as well, how did that change the songwriting process? Like, did you have a lot of times when you put something down on paper and then when you play it back you think, nah, that's not heavy enough? Like, what's that process like when you go into an album knowing that you want it to be heavier?
Yeah, so, there would be some times that, like, we come to a point in a song where it's like, well, where do we want to go next? And there's so many different places that you can go. And, having the idea of wanting to go heavier, we'd pick the routes that kind of leaned into that more, as long as it still kind of felt right and made sense for the music. There was one song, actually, Until We Break. That song didn't have a bridge, and we were like, well, what do we want to do here? And we were like, let's just come up with the craziest, most ignorant, heavy thing that we can possibly think of. And we did it, and it was funny making it because of just how obnoxiously heavy it was, but it was so cool in the end. So that was an example of like, hey, we're trying to go heavier. Let's just go as stupid heavy as we can on this part.
Yeah.
And it turned out really cool.
You also brought in Matty Mullins to work on that track as well. Where did that idea come from, and what was he like to work with?
Yeah, so we were putting together a tour with those guys, and so we're like, hey, we're looking to do a feature. Like, you want to hop on this song, and kind of like we'll pair the two together. We're like, we're gonna have this tour coming out, and then we'll have the song where you're gonna be featured on it. It'll be a cool kind of way to cross paths both in playing shows and then in our music as well. And I think that the fans liked it a lot. He's a super cool dude. Memphis Mayfire is a band that I really like a lot, so that was fun to have him on, and I think he complimented the song well.
What was the recording process like with this album? Like, were you guys all able to get into the studio by that time with the lockdowns and everything, and what was that like, being able to get back together as a band and work together?
Yeah, so it was summer of 2021, so we were able to get back together. A lot of the infections were way down because of the fact that due to warmer weather, people are a lot more spread out. And I guess, I don't know the exact science on it, but people aren't as in closed quarters together when it's cold. And so, like, I think the infections were, like, way down. We were able to get together, and everyone was able to work on the record all in the same room, and that was really awesome. So it was almost like things felt really normal while we were recording the record, which was really cool.
How do you feel now with the album about to come out? I mean, we're getting such great feedback from these singles that have been coming out, but how do you feel now? Are you nervous, or are you excited about the album coming out?
Yeah, I'm excited. We recorded almost the entire record in the summer of 2021, and by the end of the year, it was completely done. So we have been very patient waiting for this one to come out. So I'm excited for everyone to hear it.
I think your fans have been loving the way that the singles have been coming out as well, and the concept has been able to give us some great video clips, including the latest video clip for Armageddon. What's it been like working on those clips with that concept behind them?
Yeah, it's been really cool, because it kind of, I feel like the videos almost kind of build themselves, with the song and the lyrics that are in it. We really want like a dark, heavy vibe to the videos, and we can kind of just build it out visually based on the story of the song and the lyrics in it and all that stuff. So that part of it was like super easy to conceptualize, and then seeing the video once it was all shot was like, yeah, this looks super dope. Can't wait to put it out. And I think the fans really liked it a lot too.
Definitely. Now, talking about your fans, what have you guys got planned for the rest of the year now? Like, the album's coming out in just a little while, so what's the plans after that? And is there a chance that we might see you in Australia at some time soon as well?
Yeah, so right now we're out on tour with Motionless in White and In This Moment, and we're going to drop this album on the 28th of July, and then we're hoping for a fall, early winter, end of the year kind of tour that we're hoping to put together in the U.S. Then we have Ship Rocked, which is a rock festival cruise that we're doing early next year, and then we're looking to do some international shows. So hopefully Australia can be on that list. We aren't really sure yet, but anytime we get to travel outside the U.S. and play shows, we always want to hop on that opportunity. Awesome. No plans yet, but we're hoping to get there soon.
Awesome. Well, Danny, we're going to play Armageddon on our show right now. So what would you like to say to all of the listeners out there, not only before they listen to this amazing track, but before they go out and grab Blackout on July 28th as well?
Yeah, thank you all for your support. The fans are what drives this band and what makes this band successful. We don't get to do this without all of our loyal fan base. And so go out and pre-save it, pre-download it, stream the songs, and first week numbers are everything. So we want to see this thing pop off, and that happens first with the fans. So thank you all for your support.
everything we love for something stupid. It's so confusing that we kill ourselves for what the news said. But maybe ruining our lives is part of being human, or it's just rooted in our evolution. No use in running from something that you can't escape. Is what you wanted. It's in your fucking blood, you gotta taste it, now you love it. And now we're staring in the face of our annihilation. Isolated, wide awake, awaiting judgment. Lights out, we welcome the darkness. Black out, arise and believe. We made a home for the heartless, to run away from reality. Living in the madness, covered in the ashes. It's burning down, there's no way out, and I don't know where we're headed. Everything is broken, the sky is in the ocean. It's burning down, there's no way out. The sun goes down and it's Armageddon. The destruction in motion we're witnessing is related. We build explosive emotions and then we just detonate them. We play roulette with full clips, then we go to bed praying. I'm fucking losing my shit, there's no solution, I hate it, I can't take it. I feel I'm on the edge and I'm breaking. I'm fucking bothered by the fact that the whole world's decimated. I see the faces, the anguish as it burns to the ground. We chose our fate and it's too late, no there's no turning back now. Lights out, we welcome the darkness. Black out, arise and believe. We made a home for the heartless, to run away from reality. Living in the madness, covered in the ashes. It's burning down, there's no way out, and I don't know where we're headed. Everything is broken, the sky is in the ocean. It's burning down, there's no way out. The sun goes down and it's Armageddon. This is the end. This is the end. This is the end, so living in the moment. Lights out, never feeling more alive. Something's acting fast, you get it wanted. Light it up, burn it down and say goodbye. Lights out, we welcome the darkness. We made a home for the heartless. Living in the madness, covered in the ashes. It's burning down, there's no way out, and I don't know where we're headed. Everything is broken, the sky is in the ocean. It's burning down, there's no way out. The sun goes down and it's Armageddon.
And welcome back to Subculture After Dark. Well, the brand new Aussie music continues on the show right now. We're about to play Wasting Away from Brisbane band Joy in Motion. We want to know a little bit more about this, though, so we actually thought, you know what, let's actually get one of the members on the phone tonight to talk a little bit about this track. Welcome to the program, Jake.
Hey, how you doing?
I am going really well, mate. Now, I am so excited that we're about to play Wasting Away on the show. Tell our listeners a little bit about this track and its inspirations and where did it come from?
All right, so a little bit of a backstory. Like we started the band, or when I started the band, it was meant to be more of a pop project. If people go back and listen to the last EP we did, it was very commercial pop. And while I love that EP, and we all still love that EP, you know, we all came from heavy bands. I used to play drums in a deathcore band, and so our bass player Josh, he fronted a hardcore band. Our new guitar player Jackson played guitar in a pretty successful rock band called Stateside, and our drummer Carly and other guitarist Jess played together in another rock band back in the day too. So, you know, three of us came from heavier roots, and you know, we basically just every song that has been released through the Joy in Motion under the Joy in Motion name, has been written by me, and it's always been like the Jake Show and me, and I would write the songs and I would take them to a producer and we would, you know, rework them into, you know, a cohesive release, and then the rest of the band would just learn their parts basically, and especially with the last EP, being so commercial pop, there were no real instruments on that EP. It was all, think what you would hear on B105 or sorry, Hit 105 or Nova.
Yep.
And then we would have to then rearrange the songs as live versions. Like how would they play guitar to this song and all that sort of stuff. And I didn't feel right about everybody chipping in, the same amount of money to record with these bigger pop producers, to not even get to really have anything to do on the song, like in the process, writing or recording, and just sort of, here's the song and figure out your parts.
Yeah.
That didn't sit right with me. But also, come lyrically and all that, I went through a pretty rough time at a job I was at. Well, I left the job at the start of last year, and I was there for 5 years. And while I loved that job to begin with, it, kind of went downhill probably after about 3.5 years. After that time, it went downhill. I was getting given a workload that was well beyond my role, and I was given no extra time to complete that work. It's just, hey, do it in your own time. I couldn't do that in my own time. I've got pretty rampant ADHD. And so it's like, all right, well, you've got medication, go take your medication. But the problem is if I take the medication in my spare time, then AKA after work, I'm up all night.
Yeah.
So I couldn't get that done on their timeline. That kind of then escalated to a bit of workplace bullying. That was then ignored by my superiors because the person that was, I guess, perpetuating it or doing it was in a position where he was kind of invaluable at that job. He kind of weaseled his way into a position where if he left, then it would take 2 or 3 people to take his job. So they're going to take his side. And all my colleagues and all my friends that were in my little area, they all saw it. They all knew. They made comments about it to me, like, "Oh, so-and-so's got it out for you today." But as soon as push came to shove and I needed to take 10 weeks off work unpaid, and I wanted to pursue that with work cover and at least try and get some of my wages back, we didn't see anything. What are you talking about? Oh no, Jake's always been like this. Like this is blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So that's the song lyrically was very heavily inspired by that. Just a really shitty place to work, and I felt like I was wasting away at that job. So it was inspired by that, and then circling back to the music part, I didn't want to write something like that and then turn that into a pop song.
Yeah.
It was written as something more aggressive, a return to all of our roots musically, and let it be as it is rather than changing it. And this was the first song we wrote all together as well. We came to my studio here. I've got a side business, and I spent a small house deposit building a recording studio that I work on the side. And so everybody came here and we wrote the song together. It was the first song we all wrote as a cohesive unit, and why change that? That was it.
It's such a terrible experience that you went through. What was it like actually being able to sit down and put those lyrics on paper? Did that feel pretty therapeutic for you?
Yeah, it was definitely cathartic. It kind of, now like I'm in this position where it's been well over a year since I left that job and I started a new job. And while it was cathartic to do that at the time, now it's like, every time I hear this song, every time we're going to play this song live, it's kind of like going to have to almost relive it in a sense, which is fine. It's it came from a time and place, and it's good to let music be that vent. But yeah, it's cool. Sorry.
I don't know if it'll help you. I don't know if it'll help you, but I actually had a very famous musician say to me once that when you're doing a song that brings up a painful experience like that, relive it when you're doing it live, but also remember that you're letting it out when you're doing it live as well.
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly like all of the songs we've done sort of previously have mostly been touched on, like, you know, relationship stuff and all that, like, you know, your standard pop music. But you know, this is more of the first time that I've really been able to not write for a ulterior purpose, like, you know, writing pop music to try and blow up or something like that, you know. And is this lyric catchy enough, or is that, you know, like, it is what it is, and let it be that, which is good.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if it's aggressive, if it's coming from a place of hurt and doing that, then, well, so be it. It'll be a good thing to perform live, which will be fun, hopefully.
Definitely. And the other big news, of course, for the band is Jackson coming into the band. Tell us a little bit about how that happened. Did you guys already know Jackson before you brought him into the band?
Yeah, so I've been mates with Jackson for a long, long time. He used to play in a band. He used to play bass in a band called Stateside, which right before they broke up, they signed a record deal with, I want to say something maybe like Sharp Tone, or like a big record label, and they'd done tours with the likes of Paris. I think Paris. They toured with Against the Current, who are huge. They just signed basically a really big record deal, and were about to pop off, and you know, life happens, and unfortunately they parted ways, which is unfortunate. But just so happened that this was a couple of years ago, I should say. But then our normal guitarist, our guitarist that we've always had for the last few years, Jess, her main income, her main occupation is performing, you know, acoustic shows at events and weddings and all this sort of stuff. And so she's booked out well in advance a lot of the time. And we were getting show offers, and she couldn't, you know, unless we were given show offers months in advance, she wouldn't be able to, you know, perform with us. And so I just reached out to Jackson one day and said, hey, like, do you want to fill in for a show? And, you know, cool, we can do that. And that one show turned into another show, turned into a couple. And so he eventually sort of became this unofficial extra member. When Jess couldn't play, he just slotted in, and he knew all the parts and all that. And then he joined another band, and he kind of joined it. Not even joined it. He formed another band with a couple members from Stateside, and that didn't end up going anywhere as well, unfortunately. But that was kind of like being done in secret and all that. So I asked him if he wanted to join officially as a second guitarist, and he said, well, I've just started doing this project, and all good. And then when that didn't go ahead anymore, I just reached out again and said, hey, before anybody else asks you, do you want to, you know, jump in on this again? And he said, yeah, he'd love to. And that was it. That was pretty much the whole process there. So we all kind of knew him well in advance before he had joined officially. And yeah, he's a great guy. He actually helped me put together my studio as well. He used to live 2 streets away from me, so when I was doing all the painting and all that in the studio, he came around and volunteered more than a couple of hours, honestly, and helped me put together this place. And yeah, good dude, good guitarist, backed guy.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit, with Wasting Away, a lot of people are going to ask, is this part of something bigger? Will we see an EP soon or an album? What are the plans for the future going forward now with the band?
Great question. So, funnily enough, Wasting Away was written, like I said, all of us all together. But before we did that song, I had already gone ahead. Like I said, I usually write all the songs myself and all that. So I've already written, I want to say about an album's worth of material that kind of goes further down that rabbit hole of more aggressive alternative rock. Almost like, I don't know if you're a fan of Architects or not, but
yep,
similar to Architects, more so their later stuff. Very much down that rabbit hole, but we thought it was a bit too much of a jump to go from, you know, very poppy pop music to you know, own screams and you know, pitched screams and all that sort of stuff. It was too much of a jump off the bat, so we wrote Wasting Away as almost like a bridge song. You know, like it's got catchy elements. Like I really wanted to make that chorus catchy and all that sort of stuff, while still introducing those elements of, you know, grittier vocals and doing all that sort of stuff. So there already is a stack of new songs written, and what have I got? So 6.5 songs already done in pre-production. That already goes further down that rabbit hole. What the plan is now is just to continue doing that. I'm going to finish off everything that I'd started anyway, and then I'm going to bounce out all of the stems, like just drums, just guitars, just this and that. Give them to the band and say, hey, you know, you go ahead and you can either choose to learn these parts, you can rewrite your parts, do whatever you want. Like, it's too late to sit in a room and write them again because I've already started on them. But, you know, if I can give them the idea and let them sort of add their own flavor to them, then, you know, it's almost like writing the songs together.
Yeah.
But there's a stack of songs already on the way that goes further down that rabbit hole. Whether they come out as an EP or an album or a couple of singles, I'm not too sure yet. Judging by the response of Wasting Away, I would really like to get a couple more out, like ASAP. So we might even do 1 or 2 more singles as soon as we can. Last year we'd started on it sounds cheesy, but a Christmas song that we wanted to release at Christmas. But we'd started on it a bit too late for it to, you know, get it all finished and fleshed out. So been sitting on that one for this year, this conversation has just reminded me that I should probably get that ball rolling as well. But not like a jingle or anything. Like, did you ever listen to the the Punko's Pop records?
Yes. Yep.
Yep. So there's one called like Punko's Christmas.
That's right. Yep.
Where, but yeah. So something kind of like that. Like, I know Yellow Card. I think it was Yellow Card. Yeah, Yellow Card did a cover of the song Christmas Lights, which sort of breaks into this whole big epic rock outro thing. It's really nice, but we're kind of like going like that. Like, we're not taking an existing song and, you know, making it a Christmas song, but like a heavy emo-ish alternative rock song that just has a relatability to Christmas time in general, you know, and how people may not necessarily feel all that jolly at that time of year.
Yep.
And it's kind of just a song. Yeah, I like that. So it reminds me I should probably get the ball rolling to get that out. And yeah, so that'll probably definitely come this year. But then on top of that, then all these other songs that are already well underway. Probably get a couple of those out this year, and then we'll see whether or not we do another EP or an album.
Awesome. Well, I'm
not too sure yet.
I can't wait to hear the rest of the music that you're going to have coming out this year, and I love Christmas, so I cannot wait to hear your Christmas track as well. But for now, we're going to play Wasting Away on the show. So what would you like to say to all of our listeners out there before they take a listen to this amazing track?
I hope you enjoy it. If you do enjoy it, please check us out on Spotify or Apple Music. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and there's a music video as well on YouTube. If you like the song, check out the music video too. I think everyone involved in the whole process, whether it be mixing and mastering by Declan White or the video by Nick Hargens, I think everybody on board of the team did a really good job to help us bring this to life. So if you like it, support us and support those guys that helped us as well. It'd be a great deal and appreciate it heaps.
back and watch you break. Can't find you more than all this grayscale. I'm wasting away. The actions you take don't match the words that you say. And I think I'm wasting my time. I'm losing my mind. There is no peace I can find.
Welcome back. You are listening to Subculture After Dark. Well, we know that you love to learn about new music, and there's a band coming out of Germany at the moment that we know that you guys are going to love. They're called Antirope, and they've just released their debut album called Amnesia, and we thought we would actually get a couple of members of the band on the phone tonight to talk a little bit about this album, but also so you get to know the band a little bit more as well. Welcome to the program, Patrick and Slaven.
Hi, Dave. Thank you, Dave. Hi, Dave. Thank you.
So, guys,
Thank you for inviting.
like I said, this is probably the first time a lot of our listeners are going to hear your music. So I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the history of the band.
Slaven, you or me? You can do this one. Okay. Yeah. Basically, we started the band many years ago, like around 2015, and the target was more making music with good people, like with friends, and have fun. So we didn't ever try to sound like something we want to sound like. We just did. So and many years later, we thought about recording an album. So we had one lineup change. So I think this lineup change told us, okay, we should change something. Just making music and never recording an album is maybe not the right way to do it. So so we made an album, Amnesia, a little bit late, but but we made it now.
Slaven, you guys have been together since 2015. There was a pandemic in the middle there as well. Did that affect how you guys were working on this album?
Well, right before the pandemic, we had this rhythm section change, and then it was kind of 2 years where everything. I mean, we were a really slow band even before. So as Patrick said, we were playing together. We were writing songs, but we never had a kind of a target. And then the pandemic hit us, and we had some time. I had some time to write some songs. And after the pandemic, we made a decision to take these 10, 11 songs and make an album. So I think those 2 years were crucial for us because we had time to think about our goals, and as soon as the pandemic went over, we did the album. So it was kind of a mind-changing in a way.
Yeah. Patrick, what kind of things did you find were inspiring you when you sat down to work on the music for this album?
Inspiring me? Honestly, it's very difficult to say because we're like four people that all listen to some different stuff. So Slaven is more like into the Seattle sound of the 90s. I'm more like the thrash metal sound in the 80s, like Slayer, Megadeth, Metallica. My sister, who's playing bass, she's more into the disco and house, and Toby is more into new metal. So I think there's a lot of influences. So everything. So to just music inspired us. You know, I love even music like Neurosis, but we also like bands like Portishead or something. So I think there's a lot of inspiration, but a lot of different inspiration. There's not
something very special
Yeah.
that has inspired us.
Slaven, what about the lyrics? Was there anything inspiring the lyrics during that writing process? Like, was it the world around you, or what was inspiring those lyrics?
Yeah, I think. I mean, when I try to write the song, when I try to write the lyrics, it's kind of I have a different workflow as I think many others, because I tend to pick the first things that eventually comes to my mind and then put it on paper. And there was never a workaround where I could focus on something. I don't know, something that bothers me or something that I'm living through right now. It's kind of just simultaneously picking up the words that are coming out of your head and putting them to paper. And for me, eventually it makes sense. And so that's the way I write lyrics. There is no topic or something that I want to cover up. It's just plain words coming out of your head and putting them to paper. So that's the way I do those things. And mostly, for me, it always makes sense. So yeah.
Patrick, I found when I was listening to the album, there was a really kind of intimate and raw feel to this. And then I read that all of the instruments were actually recorded live. Tell us a little bit about that process, and is that why this album feels so intimate and raw, do you think?
Yes, I think so. As I told you before, I like this metal from the 80s and 90s. And back in the days, all productions were recorded on tape, so you had no loops, and I think the loops for me, for my personal taste, when I listen to the modern metal, many, I don't say all of them, yeah, but many sound very similar. It's, for my taste, it's too perfect, and I think perfection in music will bring a lack of emotion, because there's no perfection in the world. So live recording is something what is very authentic, and I like how the band performs in the rehearsal room, and this was the feeling that I wanted to have. Yeah, this is maybe a reason why the album has a little bit a vibe of the 90s, because there's no loops. It's a live recording, and this is how the band sounds. And yeah, but of course, production-wise, the sound is a little bit dirty and mixed maybe how you would mix nowadays, but with the spirit of the 90s. I think emotions are very, very important in music for me, for my personal taste.
Slaven, we're about to play the track "Is This the End" in a moment on our show. Tell us a little bit about that track. What is that track all about?
So yeah, it is a funny story. And the riff is from Patrick, and we played this song, I think, back in 2017, maybe 16, 17, maybe it was 18, I don't know, with the old rhythm section, and it was a rehearsal jam, and we totally forgot about it. But the Patrick didn't, so he had it on his iPhone, and we were rehearsing a couple of years later, and he was like, "Hey, I have this song, I have this riff. We need to play this," because he really liked it, and he showed us again. And then immediately, I knew what the song is about. And yeah, so the "Is This the End" is really a jam song, a rehearsal song, and I don't know. It's kind of for me. It's also when we play it, it's kind of a emotional journey. It starts really rough, and you have one chorus, and then you go to this the ending of the song when everything kind of sounds apocalyptic. Yeah, and I thought when I was writing the lyrics, the perfect song that would be "Is This the End?" Because it sounds like a soundtrack to the apocalypse. So yeah, I think the song is all about the apocalyptic future or something. Yeah.
It is such an amazing track, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to play it on our show tonight. Patrick, Amnesia is out now. What are the plans now going forward for the band? Are you hoping to get out there and do some shows? Have you already started to work on new music? What are the plans going forward now?
Yes and yes. So we're going to play a show on 5th of August. and we also started writing new songs. So right now it's summer in Europe, so we will play this release show in Munich, and then after the summer holiday, we will go back in the rehearsal room and work on the other tracks for the new record.
Awesome. And I guess another big question there as well, Patrick, is are you guys hoping to get to Australia at some stage?
Oh, that would be great. You know, we don't think about these things because we just think about music, and we love playing music. So Australia sounds very far to me, but this would be an awesome thing to play one day in Australia. With my former band, I played in China and Turkey and everywhere. So I love playing in other countries. So, but Australia, I never was in Australia, but I think I should do this one day.
Definitely. Well, guys, I guess this is a question for both of you. We are going to play Is This the End right now. What would you like to say to all of our listeners out there, not only before they listen to this great track, but before they go out and grab a copy of Amnesia as well?
I would say them because for me, what's special on this record is that you really need to put your headphones or put it on your speaker and really listen to it from the first track till the end. Just like I did back in the 90s. So I think this album is a kind of a story for itself. It's maybe better to listen to the whole album just than to pick the songs. And I think that's the way this album works the best. So I would suggest to listen to the whole album. So
yeah, I agree. I think it's an album that needs like at least 2 or 3 plays till you can dive really into it. It's not that kind of album that you listen when you have friends at home and it's in the background. I don't think it will fit. So all I can say, I would be very happy if many of you can listen to the album and take the time, because at least it's authentic.
Definitely, I agree with that. Like I said before, I absolutely love this album, and it is one of those albums that you need to listen to from start to finish. So, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to us today. It's been an absolute honor having you on the show, and hopefully one day we do get to see you guys play live down here in Australia. And you're listening to Subculture After Dark. Well, the brand new Aussie music continues tonight on our show. Newcastle's Tired Minds have got an album coming out this September, but they've just dropped their first single off this new album called The Fray of Rotted Rope, and we thought we want to play this track on air, but also we want to chat to somebody from the band. So we've actually got Ben from the band on the phone right now. Welcome to the program, mate.
Hello, thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
No problem. Now, mate, this track is probably one of the most aggressive and energetic tracks I have heard all year. Tell us a little bit about this track and its beginnings.
Yeah, for sure. So I think this track is probably the one that was probably easiest for me to write lyrics to. I think the melody in the middle, maybe we're trying to, in a weird way, trying to make it a little bit repetitive, so we could try and make, like, I guess, vocals be somewhat a little bit catchier, which isn't exactly how it turned out, but it's something that we're kind of leaning towards a little bit more with some of the music we write. And yeah, it kind of came back. I think it was originally Liam's riff, the guitarist that wrote it, and then Paul came in. Paul's really good at putting in some really kind of discordant, kind of weird bits into the songs. It kind of makes it a little bit more Tired Mindsy as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's, again, like with any of the Tired Minds songs, they're always like a little bit dark. And with I guess this fits in with the theme of the rest of the record. Everything's more like the lyrics and tone of the record's meant to be a little bit more downbeat and downtrodden, and without being too explicit, the themes around the record are more like around power in the body, and people in our lives that have been affected by that.
Yep.
But yeah. So and we recorded these songs, or these songs are written and recorded like quite a while ago. I think it was 2019 that we recorded them. They were written before then as well, but with lockdown happened, a lot of life happened as well. We had some really close friends pass away, some really close family as well, which kind of each time, life happened, as it does with everyone. Kind of delayed getting this out more and more. But yeah, so it feels really good to have this song out. This song is actually my favorite off the record. I think it's my favorite. I think because the lyrics is the most personal to me. But yeah.
You said that you found it quite easy to write those lyrics, and you said they were quite personal. Do you normally find it really easy to write from the heart like that?
I think it depends on the song. Some songs, like there's one of the songs on the record, that was quite difficult to write to, but then, all it took for me to kind of get more into flow of writing that is just like, that's probably going for intention now, but I'd start the vocals after the song had started, but the drummer Isaac, had the idea of like maybe starting the vocals just before all the instruments kick in, and that changed my whole feelings of the song completely as well. And I really love singing that song now. But I think it just depends on the song, because some songs, you kind of you feel an attachment to straight away, and other ones you kind of have to warm up a little bit more to. And I think, workshopping that stuff with the other members of the band has been really helpful as well. And I think, we've got some good learnings from how we went about doing this record that we can pull into the next one. I think because I live interstate, so it makes writing a little bit harder.
Yeah.
And so normally the guys would write a song or demos and everything and send them my way, and I'll, have listen to them and see if I can get into them or not. But next time, I think, so I'm not so much of a diva. I love to, I think, I have the ability to actually kind of go down and work on songs with those guys now. So, we're looking forward to doing that a little bit more too. Just finding the times are the tricky part. Everyone's got I think everyone else in the band has their own other bands going on as well, and working life on top of that as well. So, but yeah, I think now that we've got a little bit more momentum, now getting these songs out, it's given us a little bit more drive to keep pushing and write some more music.
Yeah, the title of the track as well, The Fray of Rotted Rope, for some reason I just get this image of an old maritime rope on a wharf. Where did that title come from? Was there an image in your head when you first thought of that?
Yeah, I think because the lyric is like men like them will play amongst the fray of rotted rope, and I really like the imagery of like, I guess I was trying to be a little bit more, what's the word, visual, metaphorical.
Yeah.
In terms of like a rope normally being, normally meaning safety, and then that safety kind of being destroyed, and also then being used against its initial intention as well. So yeah, I think that's probably the main part of it. I kind of like the imagery of people playing amongst ruin, or a room. It's really hard to explain, but like just, I guess like I'm trying to do it in a way that I'm not actually giving away what the song is about.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, like people taking advantage of other people, and using something that's meant to be a safety net, and using that against its initial purpose.
Definitely. Now, we mentioned that the album, The Body is a Burden, is out on the 8th of September. Is this track a good example of what we can expect to hear on the rest of the album?
Yeah, I'd say so. Because the difference between doing like a full-length LP, and this, because it's only a 5-track, is that you've got a little bit more wiggle room to kind of explore, and you can have like 5 songs that are completely different from each other, then like another 5 that are a bit more similar. Each song on this record is a little bit different. Like the tones and everything are all the same, but there's some more like rockier songs rather than just like chaotic songs, and some of the starts are a little bit more like bass groovy heavy, but then they've all got pace to them as well. I think that's what we kind of wanted to do with this record, is just kind of make it drivey.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm trying to think of what the main influences. I think the thing is that as we've gotten older, our influences towards heavy music just change like a lot, and the music that everyone listens to in this band is so different from one another. Like all the way from like electronic music to jazz to hip hop and to black metal and shoegaze, etc. So yeah, I think for us, like still not even trying to nail down what our sound is, but trying to keep like I think for us the main theme for our music is kind of like dark hardcore, and trying to draw in influences from I guess like European like darker hardcore bands as well. Like I think we all love bands like Cult Leader or Death Wish-esque bands like Cult Leader and Gaza and Cursed and all those types of bands as well. So I think that's like at least my North Star when it comes to that music. And I feel like there's been less of those bands in recent years that are at least like prominent, but they're starting to come back now, like bands like Betrayal of God, etc. But yeah, did that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah.
Good.
I was going to ask too, does the fact that you guys have been recording these tracks for such a long time because of the pandemic being in there as well, does that mean that we kind of get a bit of a longer snapshot of what's been going on for the band as well, like with changing of sounds and things like that?
Yeah, well, even before like we even recorded that, the last record we did was in 2017, which was Loom, and I think the themes for us, like since that record, like for me, like I've gone like vocally. I remember I started off like back in like 2008 or something. I was trying to do a full like metalcore scream, and I got really overdoing that. So then I just started doing like a yell, but then that yell sounded pretty shit. So I've been kind of enjoying trying to be a little bit more scream focused, and I think that's something that's changed a little bit since Loom. And I'm sure that'll probably change again when we move into like any other music that we do as well. But yeah, I think so we actually recorded the songs ages ago, and then they only got mastered I think maybe last year or the year before maybe. So so it wasn't really like a drawn out process. The writing was a drawn out process, but the recording was done pretty quick. I think for me, the longest part of recording is always me, because I've got to they'll record stuff, then I'll have to find a time to kind of fly down or fly up to Newcastle and record with those guys. Then, I actually like when I'm recording, because I tend to be a bit of a pain in the ass when I'm recording, because I don't like what I write and I second guess myself. But yeah, and that leads us to here.
Yeah.
Songs out today, which is awesome.
So what have you guys got planned now for the rest of the year apart from the album release? Are you looking to get out there and do some shows? Because I know there's a little bit of talk about a Southeast Asia tour and perhaps a European tour. What are the plans now going forward?
Yeah, for sure. So I think for us, we'd love to. We probably won't be able to hit overseas until next year. And so we're trying to reach out to see what we can do for next year in terms of overseas stuff. We'd love to go to, I think Europe's the end goal for us to go to. Southeast Asia would be cool just for an experience as well. It's just really trying to find the time to fit that in as well, especially because half the band are music teachers as well, so they're kind of dictated by the school term. I'll happily quit my job to do a European tour. But yeah, so I think for this year it's just probably doing more Oz-based shows, unless we can pop over to New Zealand or something. And yeah, so I'd love to hit Melbourne and Adelaide, Sydney again. We played Newcastle a fair bit. We played the Blue Mountains this year. And we played Sydney as well a few weeks back. But yeah, I'd love to do a few more interstate shows as well.
Awesome. We would definitely love to see you in Melbourne. But for right now, for all of our listeners right around Australia and the world, we are going to play The Fray of Rotted Rope. So what would you like to say to everybody out there before they take a listen to this amazing track for the first time?
I think I'd just like to say thank you very much for listening. It means a lot as well, I think, for us to to get our music out there and people actually give a shit as well. So anyone that listens, thank you.
And welcome back. You are listening to Subculture After Dark. Well, we told you that there would be a lot of new Australian music on tonight's show, and we're keeping that promise right now by playing the brand new track from Werewolves. This track is called Destroyer of Worlds, and of course it's from their brand new album that is coming out on August the 11th. But we thought, let's find out a little bit more about this amazing album and also about this great track. We'll actually get Sam from the band on the phone. So Sam, welcome.
Yo, man, how's things?
I am really, really well, mate. This track is just absolutely amazing, and it's interesting because I just saw Oppenheimer, the film, last night as well, and we'll tell the audience in a little bit about how that all ties together, but mate, this track is amazing. You guys must be so proud of it.
Oh, thanks heaps. Look, the way we write music is, it's so quick, and the tracks just get written and then thrown onto albums. So, to be honest, until we put the single out and started hearing it again, I'd completely forgotten about it. But I'm pretty pumped to hear that everyone's enjoying it, though. That's cool.
Now, mate, I mentioned that I saw Oppenheimer last night. Tell us a little bit about how this track links to the great man himself.
Oh, we've obviously nicked the famous Oppenheimer quote, "I'm become death, destroyer of worlds." But I guess the take that the song and the song lyrics have on it is that quite often it's an individual who can be a destroyer of worlds, not just necessarily weapons. So we kind of labour that parallel, that metaphor over a good 5 minutes and 40 seconds or so, and just absolutely bludgeon everyone over the head with it. So it's probably subtle and artistic for about the first 40 seconds. The rest of it's just horrific.
I was going to say, it is a little bit of a slower song in some parts. Was that something that you guys were aware of when you were putting it together?
It's something we do deliberately, because every show we play, someone's yelling out, "Play something fast!" So we want some really, really horrible slow stuff, in the set, to be able to disappoint the shit out of them with.
So tell us a little bit about, like you said, it is from Oppenheimer's famous quote. Was he someone that you'd always kind of followed or studied, or where did that interest come from in the first place?
I gotta say, first off, it's just, random coincidental good luck that, the single came out the same week as the movie Oppenheimer did. But it came from a really weird place, I'll be honest. It was reading the Clive Barker book, The Great and Secret Show. And in part of that book, the first atomic bomb test that they did is caught sort of in a time loop. And I was really amazed, I guess, to find out that, something that I'd read, which I, thought was total fiction. When I found out that it was actually true, then I was like, oh, holy moly, I've got to do a bit more digging into this, and sort of the name of the town, I think in New Mexico, where it was held. The whole thing sounds almost kind of almost like a lost biblical tract, that's, turned up about 2,000 years too late. There's more, it's, of course, an intensely scientific and militaristic moment in sort of relatively recent human history, but there's something about it that also smells like the continuation of an old, very long story. So I guess that's where the interest in that kind of came from. Not just loving massive things blowing up and destroying everything. That's pretty cool too.
Definitely. Now, as I mentioned before, the album is called My Enemies Look and Sound Like Me. It comes out on August the 11th. Is Destroyer of Worlds a good example of what we can expect to hear on the album?
Absolutely not. No. It's, the rest of the album is geared towards all those knuckleheads who are screeching, "Play something fast" at us. So, yeah, the album's pretty forthright, pretty brutal. We kind of have a very dark, I guess, sense of humour that we plough a fair bit through the album. And each album we do, we normally just bust out 2-3 serious sounding kind of songs, and I guess Destroyer of Worlds is that song for this album. But the rest of it is just like absolute mayhem. It's go to work. Anyone who's heard one of the other albums and liked one of the other albums, they're going to like this one. Anyone who's kind of like waiting for the album where we turn things around and start like doing, 10-minute aggressive tracks or like gent interludes or like, brutal death metal breakdowns and shit, like with big pinging snares, they're going to walk away disappointed and wanting their money back, which they won't get.
Yeah. So what was the recording process like this time around? Like, we were just coming out of a pandemic. Were a lot of these tracks written during that time? And then what was it like being able to get into the studio and record?
We're kind of on a roll at the moment. Like we're putting out an album each year, and we've sort of like done that now since 2019. And the recording process has sort of worked for us through the pandemic. We find that just works as well for us outside the pandemic as well. We're not the kind of guys who all get together in a studio, smell each other's farts, and start talking about how we're going to go about writing a song. It's very, almost mechanical how we go about it. Matt will write an album in a caffeine-fueled weekend, send it to me and Dave. Before I know what's going on, Dave has laid down all the drums to it. And then they both turn their heads towards me, and I know it's time to get my thumb out of my ass and start working out the bass, write down the vocals, and booyakasha, we've got an album. So
yeah,
that's pretty much how we do it. I live over in Adelaide as well. The guys are in Melbourne, so that sort of works well for us. Like we sort of throw our bits in at a distance, one after the other. And we've got a bit of faith in each other as well, so there's not much need to, when someone records something, to sort of like go, Dave, that drum track sucked, can you do that again? And there's never an occasion with Matt where I'm like, oh yeah, you fluffed and you need to redo that. It's not the case with those guys. So by the time it gets to me, it's pretty much perfect, and it's all mine to ruin.
Yeah. Now you've got a pretty big show this weekend. This is almost like a time travel here at the moment, because this interview is going to air on our radio show this week, but it'll be in our podcast next week. So you are doing a big show this weekend, but then you've got some more shows coming up in October. Tell us a little bit about the show this weekend and then about the shows coming up in October.
Yeah, man. Friday night we're playing with Exhumed at the Bendigo Hotel. So that will be a good one. That's the one for the Exhumed diehards who want to hear the full set. It will be an interesting one for us as well, because we'll be chucking a few new tracks into the set. We haven't played a show since about March or something, so I'll probably forget how this entire thing goes. But anyway, in October we'll be out on the road with Archspire and Ingested, doing a tour of Australia. And we're really looking forward to that one. I was one of the people who saw Archspire the last time they were out here touring with Subculture, and I was told by a mate to go along, and as a rule, I hate technical death metal, absolutely loathe it. And I hadn't heard any of their songs. I didn't know anything about them. And I turned up, and I was just like, oh, wow, okay. So yeah, it's. I'm gonna be honest. It's not all that often I see metal bands these days where I just go wow, and my ghost follicles get blown back or anything. But that was definitely the case when I saw them. So when we managed to score the support, I was really stoked. Get to run them up with them for 5 days in a row. I mean, who wouldn't?
Exactly, and because they're a band that you love the music of, and as you said, they really blew you away. Does it make you a little bit nervous to share the stage with them, or is it more excitement?
No, it's more excitement. If we make a point of doing the most regressive, primal, primate, caveman death metal possible. There's no solos. We make a point of being drooling, knuckle dragging morons with everything that we do. So we're obviously not treading on the same turf as a band like Archspire. So I think it's kind of a good balance. got the headline of being these amazing musician maestros playing the most well-crafted, well-mixed, well-mastered, super-sounding tunes, all of them with superhuman abilities. And then you got us, who'll just drag our knuckles up onto the stage and grunt a few times per beat, and then proceed to blast beat everyone's skulls in. So everyone knows kind of what to expect from us and what to expect from them. It's not going to be you're not going to confuse one band for the other. So I think that sort of works in our favour. If we were a serious band playing serious music, I'd be fucking scared.
Well, mate, you are underestimating yourself a little bit there, because you guys are absolutely amazing live. I can attest to that. But we are excited now that we're going to be able to play Destroyer of Worlds to our listeners right now. And, of course, everybody out there, the album My Enemies Look and Sound Like Me comes out on August the 11th as well. But, Sam, to finish off, what would you like to say to everybody out there before they take a listen to Destroyer of Worlds?
Or get on down to Exhumed, or because this podcast comes out next week, I hope if you are there that we didn't disgrace ourselves too heavily. If you like what you saw, we're going to hit you with it again in October with Archspire. It's going to be a hell of a gig, ingested as well for everyone who needs a bit of bree and some pits with people windmilling. And yeah, thank you very much for your support.
And welcome back to Subculture After Dark. Well, Night Flight Orchestra are heading to Australia in just 2 weeks' time, and we know a lot of you out there are very, very excited about this tour, so we thought we would actually get the man himself, Bjorn Strid, on our show tonight to talk a little bit about this amazing tour. Mate, how are you going?
Really good. Thanks for having me on the show. How are you?
I am really well. Now, mate, we are so excited about this upcoming tour. Tell us a little bit about how you guys feel about coming back to Australia.
We are very, very excited. I mean, we haven't been to Australia with the Night Flight Orchestra before. We've been there quite a few times with Soilwork, I think about 10 times, but now it's time for this airborne orchestra to hit Australia, and we couldn't be more excited. It's amazing.
Are you aware of how many Night Flight Orchestra fans there are here in Australia? Because it seems every time you have a new single come out, we get so many requests to play those tracks. Are you aware of how many fans you've got?
Cool. No, I mean, a little bit, I guess, because I've noticed the recent tours that we've done with Soilwork. There's a lot of people coming up to me. It's like, oh, when is Night Flight Orchestra coming to Australia? And people bringing, vinyls to the meet and greets, and for us to sign, and so you could feel that there's something going on at least, but it's kind of hard to get a clear picture of how many fans we will have. So it's going to be really exciting to see who's coming out to the shows.
Now, I know from over the years when I've spoken to you about Soilwork tours, you love Australia. Tell us a little bit about what some of the things are you like to do when you're here in Australia.
Well, I mean, it's usually a pretty intense schedule, but there's been times, like I think it was in 2016 when I actually got to bring my dad over to Australia, and we also hit New Zealand on that tour, and we got some days off in Australia and also in New Zealand. So I mean, we had such a great time, and there's a lot to see. In Australia, obviously, and I remember we landed in Perth, and it was 43 degrees when we landed. That was like hitting a wall, and we just instantly went down to the beach and took a dip. And 2 weeks later, we got to know that was a great white and who attacked somebody on the same beach, and so and there was that, and then. Also going, of course, to the koala sanctuaries and stuff like that. It's something that we really enjoyed to do, and just being around people too. I really like the vibe in general. Being around people. Going to bars and just hang out. And people come up and talk to you. It's really social, I would say, compared to Sweden in many ways.
Definitely. Now, as you said, this is the first time that Night Flight Orchestra has been to Australia. Does that change how you approach your set list every night? Because you're 5 albums in now and never been here. Does that change what you do with your set list, say, compared to what you would do in Europe?
Not that much. I mean, we try to... It's always hard, of course. We have that many albums out, and of course, people want to hear old gems as well. But we have... I think just about every album represented in the set list, and I think that's important. Then, of course, you want to sort of focus a bit more on the more recent stuff, because we're still out there promoting our latest albums. Aromantic 1 sort of got swallowed by COVID, and then we made an Aromantic 2, and now we can tour for both of the albums. So those albums are definitely, represented in the set list as well. But there's something from each and every album. So I think it's a really good set list that really represents who the Night Flight Orchestra, are.
I was going to ask about that. When Aromantic came out and suddenly we were in the middle of a pandemic, what was that like for you as an artist? I mean, that was such a weird time to have an album come out and then not be able to tour off the back of it. What was that like for you personally?
Well, it was obviously a really strange feeling and a big anticlimax, obviously, and we were definitely not alone. There's so many bands out there that just released a new album and was on tour as well. I mean, we just embarked on our first tour for that album, and we got 1 week in, and then they started to close down France and Spain, and then we knew, okay, we got to go home, and that was a big letdown, and
we just felt like, okay, what are we going to do now? Because we don't know how long this is going to last. And then we sort of realized that, we're not done with the aromantic concept. We're definitely not done, because that was the first tour, and we decided to make it an aromantic 2. So once things open up again, we could tour for both of the albums, so that was sort of the mindset. And I think they are very much connected as well. You could release them as a double album, pretty much.
You're such a hard-working artist, though, especially juggling things between Night Flight Orchestra and Soilwork. What was that like for you being at home during that time? That must have almost felt like a weird concept.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. The first year, it was a much needed break. It's not like I wish for a pandemic to hit the earth. But as far as taking some time off, the timing was good in the end. Even though I really wanted to do that full tour that we had lined up for the Night Flight Orchestra, but once I was home and sort of relaxed a bit, I noticed that okay, this was probably needed. Because it's been a lot, and but then the second year, I mean, it's like, okay, this is too much. This is definitely pushing it. And I started to feel the itch. And but as a whole, I think it was still a very creative time. It was not like I just was lying around on the couch all day, and my music brain is always spinning. So I did a lot of stuff, a lot of section work, a lot of guest vocals. We also did the At the Movies thing. I don't know if you heard about that, but that was, it's like soundtracks from the 80s in sort of a hard rock versions of it. And I also had some time to do some stuff with the band that I have with my wife, called Donna Canone. It's more sort of like punk rock stuff. So I play guitar in that band, so that was nice to pick up the guitar again a little bit. And but overall, it was quite a relaxing time, and I think it was needed. But then, second year, I think everybody can agree on that. It's like, okay, this is definitely too much. We need to get out there now. So, and then of course, Soilwork also released a new album. So, and ever since things open up, we're doing everything at the same time. So it's been quite stressful, but I think eventually things will get in sync, and that we can sort of divide the touring cycles and the album cycles.
I wanted to go back and ask you a little bit about what you did when you went back and covered some of those 80s movie soundtracks. That was one of the things that definitely kept me sane during that time as a movie lover. What was that like for you, going back and over those tracks and exploring them? But also, are you a huge movie lover yourself?
I mean, yes, absolutely, a huge movie lover, and I mean, there's something about 80s movies, and also, like, I'm starting to become really nostalgic about 90s movies now as well. Yeah. So that's why we also did sort of a second album as well with 90s stuff. But it was really, Chris Laney's idea, the guitarist in the band from the beginning, because he just called me during COVID and said, okay, I'm really bored, Bjorn. Like, do you want to do something like a project? It's like, okay, what do you have in mind? It's like, well, I was thinking if we do like hard rock versions of classic 80s soundtracks. And I was like, okay, sounds cool. But it felt like it wasn't that unique. It felt like, okay, people have done that a lot before, haven't they? But then we did the... which was the first track, No Easy Way Out, I think it was, by Robert Tepper from the Rocky movies, and it was so much fun. And then we released it, and then people got really excited. I was like, oh, cool. And then, okay, let's make another one. And I can't remember what the second track was, but that's when we noticed in social media that people really, really, liked it, and it was almost like, wow, is this going to be almost like a subscription, like every Thursday? It's like, yeah, I guess so. And then ended up with people just sitting there waiting every Thursday night, like, okay, I wonder what it's going to be tonight. It's like, can't wait. And it's like, wow, people are really, getting some comfort through these songs. And I think maybe getting nostalgic and something to hold on to during these weird times, So I think we provided something very, very beautiful in the end, because people really, they felt nostalgic and felt comfort through these songs.
Definitely. Now, bringing it back to Aromantic 1 and 2, those albums are such fun albums to listen to. How have you found that those tracks have gone live? Are crowds just having a massive amount of fun when you play the tracks off those albums?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they've gone really well live, and I would say especially the second one. But I guess we have been playing more from the second album since that was sort of new once things open up, you know. But I think just in general, these tracks really come alive on stage and are really fun to play live. And for each and every album, it's always a challenge, you know, and with the vocals as well. I always try to top myself, and it's not easy things to sing, you know, but things have been going pretty well, and I think they sound really good live, and we've really become friends with these songs now, and I think you can tell, you know, we just opened up for Kiss as well a week ago here in Sweden on their very last 2 shows here. So we played a bunch of those songs there as well, and there was obviously a lot of people who have not heard about us before, and they really got into it. So I think that definitely says something.
That was actually going to be one of my questions later on, but I'll ask now.
Okay,
That must have been such a huge honor for you, being able to perform in support of Kiss in their last ever 2 shows in Sweden. That must have been a huge honor.
Absolutely, we're extremely grateful to be a part of that, you know, and they couldn't be more friendly. I mean, the hospitality was fantastic. We got to meet the band, take pictures, and Gene Simmons came into our dressing room a couple of times and talked to us. Doc McGee came in to say hi. Paul Stanley also came to say hi, and they were sounding fantastic as well. The concerts were held at this. It's sort of like the Red Rocks of Sweden. I don't know if you heard of Red Rocks in America. It's sort of like almost like a hole in the ground. It's sort of like an amphitheater thing, and it's absolutely gorgeous place, you know. And to be a part of that for their very last 2 shows, I mean, amazing. People should look it up. It's called Dalhalla. This place, and instead of Valhalla, it's Dalhalla. So it's just. You replace the V with a D, basically, and you should just Google and see images from this place. It's absolutely magical, and there's a bunch of our pictures out in social media as well, so that you can see. So, mind blowing.
Definitely. Now, we talked before about the tracks off the new album being very fun to play live. A lot of your Aussie fans are actually asking, what can they expect from a Night Flight Orchestra show? What have you got in store for us?
Well, it's going to be one hell of a dance party for sure, you know. And I always say this in interviews, but this band really has a unifying factor, and it brings people from different genres together. You know, you see prog dads, you see, you know, hipsters, girls, 14-year-old girls with braces, and metalheads in behemoth patches, and God knows what. And they're sort of. We're all collected. We gather those for the show, and then by the end of the night, everybody's dancing. You know, that's usually the what happens. And like I mentioned before, some of these songs, if you enjoy our songs on the albums, you know, you come and watch a live show. They really come alive, and you know, it's absolutely electric, the whole thing.
Awesome. Now, I had another quick question just before we go. We had the track "The Sensation" suddenly land on us. What is happening now? Like, are we going to get some more singles very, very soon? Or is there an album coming? What's the plan ahead now for Night Flight Orchestra?
There will probably be one more single coming after the summer, and probably one in the beginning of next year, and that's going to lead up to a new album being released in, I would say, April, May, something like that.
Awesome. Well, Bjorn.
So that's what's in store. It's sounding really good.
Awesome. Well, Bjorn, we are going to play The Sensation on our show again right now, and we might grab something off Aromantic too as well. What would you like to say to all of the fans out there, not only before they listen to these 2 tracks, but also before they go out and grab tickets to these 3 shows that have got coming up in Australia?
Well, I mean, you cannot miss these shows. I mean, it's the first time Night Flight Orchestra coming to Australia, and it's going to be one hell of a party, and hopefully we're planting a seed here, and we can return for the next album. So come on out and be a part of this first little journey that we're doing.
Prove it to me now, feel the fire inside. I am more than you ever could wish for.
And that's it for another episode of Subculture After Dark. Wow, what a show. How great is it that we've got so much great Aussie music coming out at the moment, mate?
That's fantastic, especially, and as we heard in some of the interviews, despite COVID, especially in this country,
yeah,
keeping everyone at such a distance, people managed to pull through, and they had stuff ready to go and stuff coming out. So it's good that it's getting back to normal and we can have a life full of music.
Yeah, and it feels good that like bands like Triple Kill are able to head back out on the road and start touring again. Because even after COVID, there was a little bit of nervousness about Australian bands going on tour, especially with some of the areas like Triple Kill are going to, because there was that fear of you hire out a venue and play a gig and no one's going to show up because they're still scared of catching COVID. There was extra costs put on top of stuff as well. And so it's actually good that we're actually getting back to a point where bands can go on tour like that. And talking of the Triple Kill tour, on the next edition of Subculture After Dark, we will be talking to the band that they are touring with, Orpheus Omega, as well. So they'll be on the next edition. But hopefully we get to see some of the Subculture After Dark listeners at the Night Flight Orchestra concert and also Triple Kill as well. But mate, we better end it there for the night. Thank you so much for joining me once again on another episode of Subculture After Dark. And of
course, wouldn't miss it.
What socials can people jump onto for us?
Yep, I was just going to say, everyone, if you want to reach out to us, look for Subculture Entertainment on Facebook, not Instagram, it's Subculture Dave on Instagram and on the new platform Threads, but Subculture Entertainment on Facebook, Discord, Twitter, and now TikTok. Hey, think up some TikTok challenges we can do for Subculture After Dark. And they can probably find us on Spotify as well, because you take the effort to put together some playlists of what we put on our shows.
Definitely, yeah. So all of the music that you've heard on all of the episodes of Subculture After Dark are all on our Spotify playlist. We're also going to branch out into Reddit as well. So if you see some of our stuff on Reddit, please share it, like it, whatever you want to do. We're virgins of Reddit at the moment, but a friend of ours said that we should get involved with it, and I've been playing around with it the last couple of days, and yeah, it's pretty fun. So I think we'll be putting stuff up there as well, and hopefully
and once again, we'll just put that call out if anyone wants to do a heavy cover of, like a classic pop song or country or just something completely unexpected. Go ahead. We've had 3 now really awesome covers from heavy artists of different songs. So yeah, I'm gonna put it out there because you guys out there are fantastic and I want to get you heard.
And if you are in a band and you've got a track coming out or you've got a show coming up, hit us up, because the only way that we know about shows and stuff like that is if publicists let us know and things like that. But reach out to us as well. I've just had a musician reach out to us on Facebook about our Subculture show that's on radio, about getting his music on there. So yeah, reach out to us through any of those social media platforms. And
we're always happy to play your stuff and give you an interview if you want to promote a bit. So yeah, let us know.
And if you see us at a show, come up, because we might ask you for your reaction for on the show for TikTok as well. So yeah, look out for us. But we better get out of here. I've been Dave G.
And I've been Harley. And we'll catch you in 2 weeks for the next episode of Subculture After Dark.